Dear students, now let us see the argument of H.W. Longfellow on life in this session 2. I am going to continue the poem. The poet is stating that life is not merely meant for enjoyment and sorrow. Life is not merely enjoyment and merely sorrow. There is no complete enjoyment and there is no complete sorrow for the man in the world. He is telling that it is blend of both sorrows and joys. This fact should be understood by the man in the life, that in the present life, by actively involving in the life. The poet continues his argument by saying that life is not merely meant for enjoyment and sorrow, but life is a blend of both. It is obtained by his present act having virtues and values. He should accept wholeheartedly both. He should balance the both. He should understand the reality behind the sorrow and the reality behind the enjoyment. And he can obtain them by his present act having virtues and values. If he is living fully, he can act and receive them equally. He cannot escape. Then he treats them equally and faces them naturally. He cannot disgrace when he is in sorrow. He should be brave enough to face the things and accept the reality as it is. He admits that the present act of man decides the future. The present act of man decides the future, sorrow and enjoyment. Therefore, the poet here convincing that in his argument, man should act at both joys and sorrows and live actively in his present life. This is what the poet is arguing in his right. Then he continues his argument by referring two things, that is art and time. The role of art, ART, and role of time in human life. Let us see why he relates the both to the human life. The poet further relates the life to art and says that art is long and time is fleeting. Art is long and time is fleeting. That means art is permanent, it is eternal. Time, though it is eternal, it is not constant, it is fleeting, it is flexible, it is changing. There is a movement in the time. Time is not stagnant. There is a movement we see in the time. There is changes in the time. Time should change. Right. Here in the context, the poet refers art and time to the life. For him, art is immortal and the time is ever passing and it is not fixed. It is flexible and there is a moment in it. As it is stated that time and tide waits for none. There is a proverb in English The popular proverb, time and tide waits for none. That means it is changing. There is a movement in the time. It doesn't wait for anybody else. It works constantly. It means it is ever changing and living. On the other hand, art is living but not changing. Art is constant. One is constant, another is not constant. One is static, another is not static. Right. Why? There is a question for us. Why the poet relates them to life is a big question for the readers. As every heart has a message for coming generations, for the future generations. So the man should live artistically and meaningfully to pass the message in the passage of time. In the span of time or in the passage of time that he is living, he should live artistically by accepting the reality of the life, by accepting or by treating joys and sorrows equally. And he should be like an artist or like an art. And he should have a message like an art by living in the passage of time. To meet this end, to achieve this, what man should do? He should live actively and present himself in every walk of life. He should be presented himself in every walk of life, in every sequences. He should be actively involved and experience and find the facts of life, all the phases of life, all the phases of life by experiencing these things. If he just lives with fleeting time without any values and virtues, his funeral itself shall be dull and dark. See that? What the poet is telling, there shall be a funeral for everyone. All the man should die. But the death itself should be like having values and virtues. The death of a man should leave in the present world a lot to the people who are coming next to this world. Just he dies physically, but his experience, his artistic life, his achievements, his service, and his principles of life and his way of life should have a message for the future in the passage of time. Therefore, the poet is connecting the art and the time to the human life. See, again, the further argument the poet is referring the battlefield and the man. How the man should act in the battlefield, behave in the battlefield, fight in the battlefield. That is world's battlefield and the man. The poet advises that in the world's battlefield and in the bivouac of life, one should not dump undriven cattle but should be a hero in the warfield. Any soldier in the warfield, he has made up his mind already. He should kill and he should be killed. Death is decided and they never afraid of death because their duty is to kill and to be killed. It is the fact they have accepted. Therefore, the poet is advising for the pessimist, accept the war as it is. You should behave like a war. You should fight as a hero in the war. Here, the poet inspires him to be brave and not to be coward. Be brave forever. The battlefield. Don't be a coward. He also advises not to trust the future, however, it is pleasant, but just act in the present, but not always follow the dead past. He prefers only the present. He don't have any faith either in the present or the past. He strongly believes in the present things because it can be experienced and even sense it rather than illogically follow the past and the future. When you follow the past, there is no logic in it always. And even the future also, we never expect a logic in the future. So the poet accepts only the present. Both are not visible and uncertain. Past and future are invisible and uncertain acts. So he says that heart within, God over it. In the heart, within your heart, you should feel that you should be a hero. Be brave and courageous enough to face the things in life, whether it is joys or sorrows. And do your duty. Do your task which is assigned to you wholeheartedly. And there is the Creator overhead. It means to keep only the present in the heart, forget the past and the future, act accordingly, and there will be God overhead to observe and look after the present deeds of man. And he can take his own decision. He can judge, he can give the feedback later. The poet next, he speaks about footprints of great men. Footprints of great men. That is, achievements of great men. The noble thoughts of the great men, the principles of great men, and virtues and values of great men. In this context, he is going to analyze the footprints of great men. The poet further speaks about the great men in the history. Their lives remind us, and one can make his life sublime before death. By following the footprints of great men, the man in the present life, he can make his life sublime, make his life noble. So he should leave behind him the footprints and the sands of time. On the sands of time, or in passage of time, man should leave something best as a footprints to follow and to be followed. It means that an achievement with good deeds is considered as a footprints of him and would be inspired and followed. Lives we lead could become examples for others to follow in future. It should be a character of every man who is living actively in the present. Therefore, he ends his argument with a meaningful life by achieving and pursuing, to learn, to labor and wait. It conveys the message that one should have a goal in life and that should be achieved by constant pursuing with hard labor, and you should be wait for the positive result with a positive spirit. What a wonderful thoughts of H.W. Longfellow is putting forward almost at the end of the play. Sorry, end of the poem. It can be referred to the concluding lines of Milton taken from On His Blindness. On His Blindness is a wonderful the piece of a sonnet by John Milton that ends with a line that has become a popular quotation or the proverb or sayings around the world even today. The line I would like to refer here in this context to understand the things. They also serve who stand and wait. Man should wait because the God is overhead. You should wait for the feedback. And you should not expect anything, you should work well for this. Now I am going to conclude the poem with a message which is given by Longfellow in the poem, say, A Psalm of Life. Let us see how the poet is going to conclude the poem Psalm of Life with a long argument about the life. Thus the poet talks of death and of the brevity of life with an optimistic mode in the poem with an argument and suggestion. See that, thus the poet talks of death and of the brevity of life with an optimistic mode of the poem with an argument and suggestion. Hence, as a song, the poem, A Psalm of Life, intends to motivate the weak man to be strong enough by developing a positive attitude and by following the footprints of the great men. And on the other hand, he should influence others to follow his footprints in future. This is how the poet is going to conclude with the prime concept of footprints of the great men in the world that should be followed by the people of the future. Right. With this, I am going to end the session with a conclusion. This is the second part of the poem A Psalm of Life by H.W. Longfellow. Thank you for listening. We shall have a discussion later in the next class. Thank you very much for listening. Meet again.